Jackson. Thank you so much for agreeing to be interviewed. For those that don't know, Kyndra and I went to high school together a long time
Long time
ago.
ago.
And it's just a joy to be able to reconnect with you. I actually do this interview because again, we're combining Black History Month and CTE Month. She's African American female that has done some great things in our United States Army. Also, she works in the healthcare field within the Army. So I wanted to get your perspectives on a couple of things, and hopefully, these questions again are very easy and straightforward. But let's start out with the first question. If you could just tell people your current job title, and what does that job entail, and how long you've been in your current position.
Sure. So again, thank you so much for inviting me to have this talk with you today. And just to give you a little bit of background, I'm a registered nurse, and I've been a registered nurse for over 19 years now. In addition to that, I have a public health background, and I've been doing public health nursing for over 15 years, and that's working out in the communities. So my work is traditionally outside of the hospital setting. I work within the space where communities live, work, and play. I have various nursing and leadership roles over the course of my 19 years in the military. And I'm sure a lot of folks know when you're in the Army, you don't stay in a position for a long time. Most soldiers move every 2 to 4 years into different positions. And that's because, job assignments are based on previous performance in jobs, leadership potential, leadership ability, and a lot of other factors. So most recently, I am working at the U.S. Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases. Very long title. And there I work as the deputy chief in the Division of Medicine. And I've been there for about 7 months now, and that organization is located at Fort Detrick, Maryland.
Oh,
And so what we do is research. We do research on a lot of disease-causing agents so that we're able to protect our soldiers from these diseases and also contribute to public health and global health. Our research focuses on the prevention of disease, early detection of disease, as well as treatment of disease if someone has, the unfortunate, incident of actually acquiring the disease.
that sounds awesome. And that's like, I didn't know that you were working in that particular section of the Army and healthcare, but it's like that is perfect for what's going on right now within our country. So I know people are like, man, I'd love
Very
to listen
timely,
to
very
another
timely.
interview, but yeah, that's awesome. So tell me a little bit about, your background, where'd you grow up, how was your upbringing, and more importantly, because these are teenagers that are probably gonna be watching this, what was Kendra like in high school?
So, I would say that, our family was an average middle class military family. It was my mom and dad, and then I'm the oldest, and then I have a younger brother and sister that are twins. And, like my dad served as well. He was in the military and he served for 22 years. So we moved around a lot. We moved around every 2 to 3 years, and with that comes good things and comes bad things. I think the positive experiences were I really got to experience firsthand and be immersed in a lot of different cultures. Over the course of my dad's time in the military, we lived in the Netherlands, we lived in Germany. We also lived in several places in the United States. We lived in California, we lived in Louisiana, we lived in Maryland. With that, overseas, I got to travel all over Europe. I got to really just see firsthand just all of the diversity and all the differences from people around the globe. And in a lot of places, they don't see a lot of folks that look like me. So, it was a learning experience for them too, with us being immersed in those different cultures. I think some of the challenges were, making new friends and having to kind of get up and move every 2 years. You lost touch with a lot of great people, and then you had to start new relationships all over again every 2 to 3 years with different folks. Having to learn how to trust people all over again. So that was the challenge. Now that I look at it, being older, I think that really strengthened my resiliency. But at the time, it was the tough part of being an Army brat.
Yeah.
So then dad retired in good old Edgewood. So I was very fortunate to kind of be stable and finish high school in that one location. I have to ask you, well, what do you think? I thought that I was studious in high school, and I think I think everybody realized that, when they met me up front, that, college was on my mind. I wanted to continue my education. So I made sure I hit the books and did well with my grades. I was involved in a lot of student activities. I played sports, volleyball and softball. I was in band. And, I really was excited that I was voted most likely to succeed my senior year. So I really appreciate that people recognize my drive and my commitment, even back in high school. I wouldn't call myself popular, but I think I got along with a lot of folks.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, for me, and what I remember about you most is you being what I call, like, an all-American kid. You know what I mean? You were involved in a lot of different organizations. We were in the band together. You did sports. Like, you were in the National Honor Society. Like, you really encompass what, American kid, like you would think, would really be all about. So if you ask me, I'm like, you're probably as close to a perfect individual that I would probably remember, even though, you're a teenager, you're not perfect, but in my eye, what I remember of you, I'm like, clean cut. This is Kyndra, like, she's kind of cut above the rest. So that's what I remember, about you the most. And it's probably still true to today.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, how did you get interested in your current career, and who or what was a motivating factor for you to get started in that?
So, probably my inspiration to become a nurse was actually my grandmother. So, when I was 5, very young, my grandmother had a stroke. And, I was a witness to everything that happened, my family's engagement with that. That was a really difficult time for the entire family. And so when she was going through her course, in the hospital, there was plenty of people going in and out and in and out of her rooms, checking up on her and all that kind of stuff. But the one thing that really resonated with me was uh, those nurses that were there with her, around the clock. Yeah, the doctor came in and out, physical therapy came in and out, that type of stuff. But the nurses were the ones that were with her 24/7. They were truly with her. I mean, helping her with her basic, daily activities of bathing and getting herself together. And they were there for all of the treatment stuff, but they were also there to just help her, kind of deal with this life-changing event.
Right.
And I really just appreciate the care and the concern that they displayed toward her. And I wanted to be like that. I wanted to be able to serve and help others like those nurses helped my grandmother. So that was the kind of the inspiration of me trying to go in that particular direction. And then serving in the military, my dad was in the military. So, he was a great example for me, service to his country. And I wanted to emulate that and be able to, provide health care to that great, group of people, which are our military service members.
Awesome. So I guess, what did it take for you to get to your current position? Like, what certifications and schooling did you have to do to kind of get to where you're currently at in the Army?
So I started my journey with actually getting awarded a 4-year Army ROTC scholarship. So for those that don't know what ROTC is, Reserve Officers Training Course. And so that is one way that folks, if they want to go the college route, have an opportunity to get a funded education through the Army, through the military. And so I was awarded that scholarship and went to Clemson University, and then was able to receive my Bachelor's of Science in Nursing degree after completing Clemson. So then got commissioned into the U.S. Army Nurse Corps, started working there, And then through the Army, I had a couple of other opportunities to compete for and get awarded other, if you want to call it a scholarship opportunity for me to further my education. So in the Army, I was able to get my Master's of Science in Nursing as well as a Master's in Public Health. Got those degrees, came back, worked some more in the Army. And then a couple years later, I went back and got my doctorate of nursing practice. And so those degrees I was able to get through the University of Maryland, Baltimore. So, those advanced degrees helped me develop the skills so that I could, manage and lead employees. So I don't do a lot of the bedside nursing anymore.
Mhm.
Right now, it's a lot of leadership and management and helping people achieve their goals as well.
That is awesome. And I think for a lot of the kids, we have JROTC program here at Wintersville High School. So I think it's important that they kind of understand, because sometimes you don't see it as a teenager. You kind of, well, I don't know about that, but how much the Army can actually help you, further your career. So that's
Right.
awesome. What would you say is the most difficult part of your job, and what is the most rewarding part of your job?
So as a nurse, I think in general, the most difficult part is having to give patient, negative or life-altering news. One example that I can give is during my time when I actually worked labor and delivery, so helping moms bring, their new lives into the world. And there were a couple of instances where we would have a mom come in and, we would do our checks and, for reasons we don't know why, we might not have been able to pick up a baby's heartbeat. And so
Mm,
having to tell that mother that, she's lost her child is just, it's devastating. It
yeah.
doesn't get easy. And being there with, the mom and the family, and they're going through that life altering event, it's tough. It's tough. So, in those times, it's great to have great teammates, and, we cry together, we're all human. But we know that, we have to be strong for those families so they can get over those particular situations. But that never gets easy at all. I would say the most rewarding aspect, being a nurse, is actually helping someone out with a positive health outcome. So again, talking about labor and delivery again, you might have a mom come in and maybe that baby's heart rate is very low or the mom's not doing well. And then just being part of an awesome team that's able to rally around really quickly, be efficient, work like a team. And then we're able to maybe save the baby, save the mom and baby. And now we have a positive outcome, which could have been a very, very different scenario. So I've been on both sides of the spectrum working labor and delivery. And I think that is what really is the rewarding part, is when you can go home at the end of the day and know that you saved someone.
Hmm. Yeah, it has to be. I mean, it has to be. And I know those difficult times is taxing as well. So, I mean, again, I can't commend you enough for your work in that department, because and I know it takes special people to do it for sure. Um, from an African American standpoint, Kendra, um, what have you had to deal with racially, if any issues have come up, during your time in your career, or coming up as as a kid? Have you dealt with any of that from a racial standpoint as you transitioned from one point to your life to the next?
I would say probably the most profound incident of racism that I've experienced actually happened very early in my nursing career. So this was my first time working in a hospital, and I was a new lieutenant in the Army, and I was ready to go and just excited about being a nurse. And so I come on shift on the floor, get assigned my patients, and so I'm going through my process of introducing myself to all of my patients, and I go in. At the time, last name was Brown, so hey, good afternoon. I'm Lieutenant Brown. I'm your nurse today. You know, uh, this is what we're going to do. This is kind of, the order of things that we're going to do today for me to check you out. And it was an older gentleman, a white gentleman. And he said, you can't be my nurse. I'm like, no, no, sir. I'm your nurse. I'm Lieutenant Brown, going through my professional spiel again. And he was like, no, I need you to leave because ain't no color girl going to be my nurse today.
Oh, okay.
And so I said, okay. I had never experienced anything like that in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
I was very just shocked. I was taken aback because I was not expecting that to come out of his mouth.
Right.
And I said, okay. And I mean, he repeated, ain't no color girl going to take care of me while I'm in this hospital.
Mm.
So I said, all right, sir, hold on one second. So I needed to compose myself because what I didn't want to do is come out the wrong way.
Right.
So I excused myself and I went back to the nurses station and I let my team know kind of what was going on in the situation. And, I was just, again, shocked, disappointed that, that even in this day and age, we still have to deal with things like that. And to be quite honest, I never thought that that would hit me personally.
Mm-hmm.
So, I talked to my boss and I said, this is not acceptable. And I can't work in an environment like that. So I need to do something. I don't know what it is, but we need to do something. And I genuinely appreciate my leadership at the time. And they said, oh, no, we're not going to stand for this. And we support you because you have the credentials, you have the education, you have the certifications. You can provide nursing care to this person.
Wow.
So what happened is that we actually formed we had a meeting. And so we had a meeting with the patient's family, the caregivers of this individual, and some of the other hospital leadership. And we all sat down, and if you want to call it, we had a come to Jesus talk. And basically, my leadership told him that, this hospital is very proud of the diverse workforce and staff that they have. And, they come from all different countries and backgrounds and ethnicities, and they represent what is great in our nation. And we have great professionals that work here, every day. And the thing in common that they have with one another is they are all educated, they've got the credentials, they have the background, and they are competent to perform whatever level of care they're supposed to. Our physicians, our nurses, they're competent, they're trained, and they can take care of you. So you have one of two choices. You can either accept our care from our diverse professionals, or you can choose your care somewhere else.
Mm.
So the family made a decision and they said, no, we're going to continue to have our care here. And I still, that next day after all of that happened, I got assigned that patient again. But it was a completely different scenario. So, he was, if you want to call it respectful, didn't say much. I did what I needed to do, remain professional. And he was on the floor maybe for about 2 weeks. But I will tell you, at the end of the 2 weeks when he was discharged, I got a letter from that gentleman. And in that letter, he apologized and he thanked me and others for our professional care. And I really believe that was a turning point. I hope it was a turning point for him to maybe change some of his biases. So yes, it was a very negative situation, but I think all in all, we both learned a lot from that particular situation. So I hope he's a better person for his experiences with us. And hopefully it changed his point of view a little bit.
That is an awesome story, Kyndra. My thing is, it probably will be forever etched in your mind as well, because you never expect those situations to come about. And so your upbringing, everything I told you about who I remember you to be as a person or a teenager or a kid, like all of those things come out in situations like that. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
Your upbringing, everything your father stood for, everything came out, and you probably didn't even realize it came out, but it did, because it very easily could have went south very easily.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like very easily, it could have went south, and you didn't allow for that to happen. And then look at the other end of it and the change that you were able to actually invoke to that gentleman. That's a powerful story. Like that's something that I know I'll remember. Um, who who was a hero for you? Like anybody in your life, and what kind of gives you motivation, kind of day to day, to do what you do?
Um, I'm sure you hear this a lot, but I think my parents are my heroes. Um, my mom was the constant cheerleader for all of her children. I just remember going through high school and again all of the events that we were in, mom was always there. So mom was at the football games, volunteering in the concession stand. She was at, all of the band events. She was there at the games, always supporting us in everything that we did. She also was an advocate for us, ensuring that we had access to whatever opportunities we needed so that we would be able to succeed. And I appreciate that, because my dad, with being in the military and him, not always, being there in spirit, but not always physically being there,
Right.
mom always stood in there and made sure we were taken care of. And again, my dad, with his solid work ethic, served 22 years in the military and then retired once and then went into the United States Postal Service and then served 20 years with them. And now that he's retired twice, he still can't sit down. He's just got to keep moving. And I mean, I'm just amazed at just how much energy and excitement that he has just for life and for living and for doing. And so I hope I can, exude some of that energy as I get older.
Mhm.
And what's really cool about it is that you don't have to look, on TV or on radio to find your heroes. We have so many heroes in our local communities. So, with that, I'm appreciative of all the teachers, other folks, their parents, the counselors that took time out for me, growing up and going through high school. Their influence and their guidance, helped me to get where I am today. So I thank them for that. I
Awesome.
would say motivation. Motivation, my kids. My kids are my motivation and wanting to set example for the next generation.
You have
I
two.
want to,
You have two kids, right?
yes, a boy and a girl, an eighth grader and a third grader. So, I want to be an example for them that it doesn't matter where you come from. What's important is where you end up. And like we were talking about earlier, there's a lot of people out there that believe that you are defined by your zip code or where you grew up, and that's not true. Um, we had those discussions and those negative stereotypes about, where we lived and where we went to high school. Um, but Edgewood High School shaped and produced so many talented professionals. I mean, you got doctors, you got lawyers, you got principals, you
Mhm.
got business owners, you have military service members, and the list goes on and on. So, the bottom line, as long as you put in the hard work and you put in the effort, anything is possible.
Yeah, yeah. I appreciate that. Um, if you had to do one thing over in your life, and this is an interesting question, but it's something worth asking. Would you do anything over again, Kendra, if you had to do it?
I honestly don't think so. I think the course that I've taken, I'm okay with it. My failures, I failed. There have been disappointments, but they've shaped who I am today. They've helped me build my character. I've built more experiences. I've built resiliency. These failures have forced me to get out of my comfort zone quite a bit. Um, when I do run into failure or disappointment, I try to kind of self-reflect and try to figure out what's the lesson in all of this. There has to be a lesson for me to learn so that I can, pick myself back up and improve.
Mhm.
And that's what I look at that as is my failures and disappointments are just opportunities for me to improve. And, I don't think I would change anything. I've persevered through all of this, and I think I'm a better person because of it.
Yeah, that's that's awesome. I think that a lot of times you think you get to a certain point in your life, you think back and you just it's worth asking a question if something that you would change. But it's good to hear from you that all those experiences help mold who you are. So why change it? You know, um, knowing that it's Black History Month. What does that meant for you, and what does it mean for you today?
Uh, Black history, Black history is American history that needs to be shared with everyone. And I think Black History Month, gives everyone an opportunity to share and celebrate and understand the impact that African Americans have had on American history. Everyone should have the opportunity to learn about the contributions of Black Americans. But I also think it's me standing on the shoulders of those that have come before me and have paved the way for me to be a nurse and be an officer in the military. It symbolizes the sacrifices of my great grandfather, my grandfather, my dad, all of them that have served, knowing that because of their service, I'm able to serve as well. It's also, I think, a charge and a calling for me to make sure that I'm living out my purpose and doing all that I can do to contribute to this history. Black history is rich history, and it's a reminder that our history is full of excellence, and we need to continue to be examples of excellence. And so that's what I strive to do every day.
Awesome. That's a great answer. And if you had to go back in time, it's a time machine. You go back in time, just like you are, to go talk to your 17-year-old self. What would you tell her?
First off, set out some realistic goals and make a plan for success. Don't go into anything unprepared. I'm a planner. So I like to write down, what my to-do list every day and all that kind of stuff. So I would really encourage folks, set up a plan for success. For us in the military, when you first get in the military, we do something called a career map. And we literally sit down, based on what we know, and we look at where we are now and where we want to be 15, 20 years down the line. And we actually set up a framework. It's a living document. We know things might change, things might happen, but at least you have a start and a trajectory of where you are now and where you want to end up so that you stay focused. Mm-hmm. So I would encourage anyone, put that plan together. Where do you want to go? How long do you want it to take you? And set that initial plan up and then figure out how you're going to action it out over the course of time. Also seek out mentors that have achieved the milestones that you want to achieve. Talk to them, ask them questions, ask about their failures. What did they do to, pick themselves up and continue moving forward toward their dream? You would not be, interfering with anybody. If you saw somebody and said, hey, sir, ma'am, you know what? I want to be this. I want to be like you when I grow up. How do I get there? I'm telling you, we would be excited to see that motivated, 17-year-old, and we would love to help you out and help you get to where you're trying to get, where you're trying to go. And then I think also surround yourself with people that want to see you succeed, and that will lift you up. Don't go toward the negativity. Stay toward those positive people that are going to be your cheerleader, be your motivator, and help you achieve the goals that you want to achieve. And then I think lastly, don't get discouraged by setbacks and failures. Get up, dust yourself off, refocus, and then go after that goal again. You'll get there. You'll get there.
Well, Dr. Kyndra Jackson, can't believe, it's been this long. I can't appreciate enough for you taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to me in this Black History Month series. Your answers to your questions were awesome. I really think that anybody that's watching this is really going to pick up something positive from this conversation. And, I really wish you the most success, because I know this is only a beginning. We talked about earlier, like you're getting ready to close one chapter and there's another chapter opening up that it's probably going to be more exciting than the chapter that you're closing. So I'm excited to hear about it and to live through it with you as you continue on.
Well, no, thank you very much. Again, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to your students and speak with you. And truly, and I'm truly genuine about this. If you do get any feedback and you have any students that are excited about nursing or excited about the military and just want to learn a little bit more about that and want to hear some more of my insights, please let me know. I will extend that out to all of your students and just let me know how I can help.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, madam. I appreciate it.
All right, you take care. Thank you.